May I ask your name? I'm Sadat.
I'm John.
John, thanks.
I'm
Yeah.
smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, it just kind of
Yeah.
helps to know the person.
Okay.
This is Ijaz. I'm Sadat. Yeah.
Pleasure.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, we're just kind of talking to people about Islam, purpose of life,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And
Okay.
I'm also just curious to know on the ground level,
Yeah.
what the average Canadian knows and understands about Islam and Muslims. What comes to mind in terms of, especially what Muslims believe. Do you know a
Yeah.
little bit about what Muslims believe?
I know there's certain ways to pray, and that certain Muslims are very peaceful, and then there's another sect that are a little more radical.
Yeah.
That's what I know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the vast majority of Muslims are, peaceful, and when you're thinking of the radical or the violent elements,
Yes.
that's probably something that happens more in the Muslim world.
Okay, yeah.
And oftentimes, not to justify wrong actions,
Yeah.
but oftentimes that violence is actually a response to a much larger violence that has been
Yeah.
perpetrated against them. So, for example, I'm sure you probably recall that the U.S. invaded Iraq, for example.
Yes,
Not
yes.
once but 2 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that kind of dismantled the infrastructure of the country.
Yeah,
The
it
government
wasn't
was toppled over. So you can
Yeah.
imagine that when there's there's anger, and when there's a vacuum of law and order, then all of the worst criminal elements of society are going to come to the fore, isn't it?
Yes. You're right,
Like
you're right,
if
you're
right now, if we knew for a fact that the
Yeah.
police are not here and they're not going to respond to anything at Yonge and Dundas,
Yeah.
things could go downhill very quickly,
Very
right?
quickly,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We know there's police, there's surveillance cameras, we're being watched. It kind of helps,
Big
right?
brothers around.
Yeah.
Big brothers
But
around.
Islam in and of itself by default is
Yeah.
a peaceful religion, right?
It is,
Yeah.
it is,
But
yes.
but at the same time, to be honest with you, it's not pacifist. If you
No,
appreciate
yeah.
the difference.
Yes.
So peaceful is I always kind of boil it down to a street level analogy.
Yeah, okay.
So being peaceful means not throwing the first punch.
Yes.
Yeah, but a
defense.
pacifist is someone who would just never throw a punch.
Yes.
Period.
That's right. No, you're right.
You can oppress me, you can kick me, I'll
Yeah.
love you back and
Yeah.
turn the other cheek. And so Islam is very practical. Islam
Yeah.
says, don't throw the first punch, but if you're attacked, if you're threatened,
Yes.
if you need to, then there's a time and a place for
Yeah.
violence, but that violence has to be measured,
Yes.
and it cannot be against innocent people.
That's right.
It shouldn't be
That's right.
perpetrated against, non-combatant civilians, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So sorry for that long explanation. I just wanted to clarify a bit. Yeah.
I'm into learning, so that's good.
But in terms of basic beliefs, does anything come to mind in terms of what Muslims
I don't
believe?
know. I've heard a lot of different things about the Quran and Muhammad. Okay, some of the things that I've heard are disturbing to me.
Such as, please don't
Such
worry
as
about
that
offending.
he had married his first wife was a child, like a 9-year-old or something,
9-year-old. Okay.
and they consummated their marriage when she was like 12 or something like that.
I believe the marriage, the report that you're thinking of actually says that the marriage was consummated when she was 9. Actually.
9?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now that, to me,
So
that's...
what do you think the minimum age of for sex or for marriage should be?
for marriage should be at least 16, I'd say. At
16?
least,
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just give a hypothetical example here, right? Hypothetical example. Let's say there's a 15-year-old girl that I like, right? And she's 364 days, right? 15 years. Yeah, 364 days, 23 and a half hours.
That's cool.
So the question would be that would I have to wait for that clock hand to strike the 12
Well, no.
and then it's moral and ethical, but before that it isn't?
No, I don't think so. No,
It's a bit more
that's-
complex than placing an age on it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's, of course, it should be someone around the same age, I believe. The same thought power. Yeah, maturity level. Thank you.
The same maturity. Because people can be of different ages but still be on the same maturity level, isn't that right?
Exactly. Yeah. For sure.
I mean, there's a Muslim professor named Jonathan Brown in the U.S.
Right.
He gave a very helpful example. It was helpful to me. I really like the example that he gave. So he said, I'm going to modify his example a little bit.
Right.
Okay. So I have a 12-year-old son. This is for real. I have a 12-year-old son. Okay. Now, if my 12-year-old son, let's say when he's 13 or 14 or 15 years old, let's say he comes home one day and he says, Dad, I'm in love with a girl at school.
Yeah.
And because Islam doesn't allow us to have premarital sex, to just sleep around and stuff,
Yeah.
we only believe in marriage and sex.
I think that's great.
So my 14 or 15-year-old son says to me, Dad, I love this girl. I want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So I want to get married. I want to marry her.
Right.
Okay. So if my son says that to me at age 14 or 15, my honest answer to that, my honest response to that would be, no way.
Yeah, same here.
14 years old, 15 years old, no way.
Same here.
But now my son's going to ask me, why not? Because that's what children do, right?
That's
Why
right.
not, Dad?
Yes, they do.
So I'll have a list of reasons ready for him, right? One will be, for example, financial reasons.
Absolutely.
Like you have
Still under my roof.
you have $400 in your bank account.
Yeah.
Who's gonna be taking care of you and your wife and your children?
Yes.
Another reason could be, well, you're too young to have a driver's license. So if your wife needs to be driven to the pharmacist or the hospital or something like that, who's gonna drive her?
That's right.
Another reason could be you haven't even finished high school yet.
That's great.
So
That's-
what kind of a job will you get? You can't be a cashier at Tim Hortons forever supporting a family.
You're so right.
Another reason might be it's illegal in the country.
Yeah.
That's a good reason.
That's a good.
It's a good reason.
Enough reason.
Yeah, I don't want you to go to jail. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want your wife to go to jail. So now let's change this example from Toronto 2019. Let's
Okay.
change this now to, let's say, 200 years ago in a Serbian village.
Yeah.
Let's change this to even parts of sub-Saharan Africa today,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Let's say we're in sub-Saharan Africa
Yeah.
400 years ago. Let's just say 400 years ago.
right.
And the same example, let's say this 14-year-old son of mine comes home and says, Dad, I want to get married to the girl from that tribe.
Yes.
And she's willing to marry me too. I say, no way, son, you can't marry. You're only 14 years old. You'll say, why not? I'll say, well, number one, you can't even yet drive a car. Oh, wait a minute. We don't have cars.
Yes. Yeah.
We don't have cars. Okay.
True.
You don't have any money in your bank account. Oh, wait a minute. None of us have bank accounts.
Yeah,
Okay.
different time.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's against the laws of the country. Oh, no, it's not against the laws of the country. Actually, everyone else in the village gets married at age 14 as well, too. So the point is, I actually don't have any excuses or reasons to give him anymore. As long as he's got a fuzzy mustache, he's tall, he knows how to hold a spear, he knows how to hunt,
Yeah.
and the girl knows how to start a fire.
Yeah.
What would I say to him to justify my no?
Back then, there's nothing.
There would be nothing, yeah. So that's one of the reasons that we can't really judge,
Yeah.
other cultures and other times by the standards today. Yeah.
Well, which is true. You're right.
Well, it's not just the idea of progressive morality. It's not just that we're at a higher place now than where Moses and Jesus and Muhammad were. It's even if those circumstances were to exist today.
Right.
Even if today, if I was part of a small tribe in the Amazonian jungle,
Yeah.
I don't have a big problem with my 13-year-old son or my 10-year-old daughter
Right.
getting married to someone. But in Toronto 2019, well, different circumstances. Life is a bit more complex than that. even the average 20-year-old is not. Even the average 30-year-old is not nowadays not mature enough.
I'm 48 now, and
Yeah.
I feel I grew up about 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. That's quite common. Yeah.
Pardon me? You look like you're in your 30s. No, I'm 48. Believe it or not.
So does that kind of contextualize or explain the Prophet Muhammad's wife to
You know
Aisha?
what? It explains a lot to me.
Yeah.
Something I didn't think about.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's not like they're not sexualizing children in this
Yeah.
culture right now. You get
I
10,
know.
11-year-old girls and the
It's
parents are
exact.
dressing them in small miniskirts.
Assalamu alaikum, I'm Sadat, a fan of Scdawah. I'm not asking you for any money, I'm just asking you to visit my new YouTube channel, which is called That Canadian Brother, and to take a second to press on the subscribe button and on the notification bell. You might be surprised to find out that there are dozens of hate channels on YouTube that originate in Canada. A friend recently sent me a list, and it was dozens, like dozens upon dozens of hate channels that originate in Canada. Many of them have tens of thousands of subscribers. I'm hoping that a lot of those subscribers are from the US and not from Canada. We know for a fact that the United States is the largest exporter of right-wing, white supremacist hate ideology. But at the same time, I'm sure there's many Canadians that are also being swayed by this international hate movement. So I'm doing my part by starting this small channel and trying to address some of the stereotypes, some of the misconceptions, and let's be honest, some of the outright lies that are being thrown against Islam and against Muslims. So please do your part by subscribing and making dua for me. Also remember to subscribe to any Muslim channel on YouTube that is specifically geared towards responding to stereotypes, misconceptions, slanders, and lies against Islam and against Muslims. I'm counting on your prayers, I'm counting on your du'as and on your support. Jazak Allah Khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.